Hi everyone, welcome to the Free Speech Zone. I'm Ian Con. The second episode of the round of 32 of Battlebots. Another 4 big matches, some of which were even a surprise. So we had Poison Arrow versus Son of Waiachi. We had Tombstone versus Escape Velocity. We had Razorback versus Ghost Raptor. And we had Warhead versus Complete Control. So as per last week, a couple of those were sort of given away in the preview, which was a bit disappointing. ABC, what are you doing? What are you doing to us, mate? I'm trying to pretend like it's a real sport here, mate, okay? Anyway, look, on that, I love the idea of previews. I love the idea that this is very produced. It's great. I love that this format exists at all. So all this criticism is very from a good place. What about a live Battlebots? Have we thought about that? Have we thought about this as a real sport? Like a sport? Like I'm not playing around, I'm not dicking around, I'm not trying to be silly about it's a TV show, it's a sitcom style production, multi-camera situation. Make it a sport. Okay, so you show up every week, and each week when the show is on, that's when you fight. If you can't fight, well, there's a spare robot, there's a whole situation, you've got to have reserves and stuff, then you've got to put on a show. You know, the show must go on. And it's obviously much more technically difficult. There's a lot more stuff to consider. A lot more stuff can go wrong. And waiting 5 minutes is usually not an option. You have to go out there right now. So yeah, it would be challenging. But man, that'd be a thing. I mean, I'm not one for sports betting. But if you want to make this big, it seems like betting on it is a good way to go. But obviously, you know something? Retract that. I'd like to keep betting out of this for as long as possible, actually. Yeah, because one of my other great loves, Counter-Strike, is being completely torn apart by the insides out with gambling at the moment over skins and underage gambling. So hopefully Counter-Strike stays a real game, stays a competitive game, not just about the gambling. And hopefully this stays the same. So yeah, I don't know. Either way, live fighting would be incredible. Wouldn't it be good to actually be able to tune in at once and just stream it all around the world? This whole rights bullshit, this whole I can't see it because I'm not within this particular little state boundary, it's absurd. No one is broadcasting it here. Like, if no one else has the rights to it, to play it live, what the hell is the cost? You know, if you could just stream it from your website with ads. Now, this is something else I've always thought about when it comes to YouTube. Why do they have the main content here, and then in the content is the ad? There should be a separate video playing below, which is the ad, which you can't get rid of. Then we can have ads all the way through it, and you don't have to worry about the content. Heck, Google is so big, they could make monitors that were a different aspect ratio, so you could actually have ads playing all the time and not pay for anything ever again. Hopefully, you can opt out of that sort of thing by paying somebody. But, I mean, these sorts of things, they're coming to us. Monitors being pushed by the way advertising needs to work, that's coming. Anyway, the point is, you could make a heck of a show. You could make plenty of money just by live advertising. You could have it, you know, like a real sport. That's where I'm trying to get this thing. That's where I'm trying to... This is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm talking to you about it. Because this needs to be a real sport. Anyway, enough intro. On to the matches. Round 1. Warhead versus Complete Control. Look, it was given away last week. It was, as I said, it was given away in the preview. They were high-fiving each other. But can I be perfectly frank here? I don't think Warhead won by knockout. I think both bots were on their asses. Warhead could move around through gyroscopic precession because of the extra power and mass in its spinner. But that doesn't count as primary locomotion, does it? You know, that doesn't sound right at all. It couldn't actually drive around because it was over on its back. It couldn't self-right. It could get up as far as its edge, as its the pencil standing on its tip, if you like, but it couldn't get over. So, anyway, I think it should have gone to judges. I think it should... Don't worry, Warhead should have won by judging, but it shouldn't have been called a knockout, because neither of them could technically move. But yeah, there was 20 seconds of nothing there, wasn't there? Well, notice something else. Kenny didn't get gyroscopic precession. He didn't expect that at all. The judges didn't really get it either. They were shocked as hell to see the way the thing was moving. It was a perfect opportunity for a science lesson in there. You know, the people who own the copyright to this are the same people who own the copyright to Tested and to Mythbusters, I believe. It would have been the perfect moment to chuck in a little STEM. Bring the STEM to the people. Explain gyroscopic precession. You've got people working there, making 3D graphics and making cool things and showing like dissolves and intros and titles, and make a little demonstrator. Have someone hold a bloody bicycle wheel, the way we all do it, the way everyone learns about gyroscopic precession. Have them spin a top. Explain what we're seeing, because I can see it. Hopefully a lot of you can see it. But just look it up. Look up gyroscopic precession on Wikipedia. Can't hurt if you don't understand what I'm talking about. But it's why the drum spinners they turn from side to side and they can dance around. It's why Warhead, when it increased, and they mentioned that they increased the power of their main weapon. Once they did that, the speed of it increased the moment of inertia, which means that suddenly this becomes a factor. The amount of energy being pushed in one direction. Now I'm going to get my energies and my momentums and whatnot mixed up here, but instead of it just being able to turn, it's turning and also being lifted up, because the thing that was anyway. Look up gyroscopic precession. It was a complete comedy of errors in its own way, though. I mean, yeah, Warhead won, but yeah, you know, yeah. I don't know. They're not learning about the armor, though, are they? You need to spend a good portion of your weight budget on armor. Certainly up the front. I mean, Chuck didn't learn that really with Ghost Raptor. We'll get to that. And certainly Complete Control didn't. I mean, they just got torn into. It's kind of... The issue being that when the armor gets torn into like that, suddenly you can transfer huge amounts of energy. Like the amount of force that's now being put onto both bots is enormous. If it's a glancing blow or only a small chunk gets pulled out, okay. And if a piece breaks, then there's only a small moment that it's actually being, you know, a small amount of time that it's being accelerated for. But if it gets a huge amount of contact and a big throw, I mean, that's what's destroying these bots. And that's, you know, if that armor were better, Complete Control probably would have still moved around at the end. And if it was still moving around at the end and Warhead was on its head, no matter how much it was bouncing around, Complete Control would have won that match. So again, armor, you know, very important stuff. Same thing we saw with Witch Doctor. Anyway, armor, it's a thing now. Anyway, that brings us to round 2. In the Book of Disaster, this is the last chapter. Okay. Alright, whatever. So Razorback versus Ghost Raptor. Man, look, Ghost Raptor, Chuck did incredibly well. I've talked some shit about Chuck, you know. I've been like, oh, Chucky gets so into it, blah, 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 you know. But look, credit where credit's due. The frigging pasting that Ghost Raptor received was shocking. It absolutely got torn apart. It got broken. The rear chassis, he said, got completely destroyed. 16 hours of repairs, and the thing was working at the end. You see, it's easy to make it look repaired. It's very, very easy when something gets broken to go, yeah, see, it seems fine. Okay, it'll work for the next 2 seconds. Then you try and actually get it to do something and go, oh God, all that configuration that we had to do, all those tweaks and little tinkerings that we had to do, yeah, well, they didn't get included in the 16 hours, oh God. But he got the thing actually working. Now, it didn't work for long, obviously. I'm not sure that main weapon was ever really working. It didn't really get up to speed very quickly at all, but then it doesn't. It's Ghost Raptor probably doesn't have a very powerful main weapon. I mean, we can see that. But he got it going. You know, he got it moving around. And credit where credit's due. Good on you, Chuck. You know? Good work. And speaking of armor and weight budget, where the bloody hell does Ghost Raptor actually use its weight budget? Are those track things incredibly heavy? Is it too articulated? I think that could be part of it. But it doesn't seem like it's got any guts. It's got no spine, you know? It's got no goddamn spine. It's it's just, I don't know. It just wants to break. Torsionally just crack awfully. Anyway, so I'm very curious. I'd like to hear it where the thing actually spends its weight budget, because it doesn't seem like it's spending it on armor or chassis or robustness or weapon or anything in particular. It just sort of is. Anyway, so the driver from Razorback, the owner, driver, designer, gentleman, and as soon as I saw him, I was like, he plays bass in a metal band. I swear. I know this guy. I don't. But you know what I mean? Like, I've mixed a lot of metal bands. You mix bands, and lots of bands that play around are metal bands because, hey, the kids that love their metal. Speaks to them, man. The Jaws. So the idea of adding the Jaws when the drum spinner was so effective last round, I mean, again, nobody really sort of explained this, but I mean, to my mind, it was a clear issue of maneuverability. He needed to be able to get in and around behind Chuck, behind Ghost Raptor, and that drum spinner, due to the gyroscopic precession, highly limits maneuverability, and he made a great decision to go with those Jaws. I was questioning it when I heard that's what he was doing before I actually saw the match. I was like, phew, don't know about that, those Jaws. We've seen Jaws not work terribly well in the past. That's the concern. The Jaws, if they're quick enough, which these ones seem to be, can be very good, but I mean, even Overhaul last year was just, those Jaws just didn't really want to do it, did they? But yeah. So either way, I started to like Chuck. Did you notice? Maybe he's never been beaten in public before. Maybe he's never been embarrassed in public, because he was humbled by that defeat last week. It seems. I'm only guessing here. I'm only reading a bit of body language I saw, but he didn't have that same, dare I say, alpha male, I'm gonna win this thing that he has had until this week. He was changed. He was like a reasonable individual, which may or may not be the best thing. I don't know, but it was a big change. It was a big change to see Chuck. But either way, the body language was completely different. He just didn't have that shoulders back, arms up, fuck you everybody thing going on. And that's, you know, that's but more power to him, man. He came back, he rebuilt that damn bot, and he put on a good show. But as soon as it was upside down, if the main weapon was working, surely that would have been able to move the bot around so as it could have easily just flipped over. Because the issue was the way the weapon, as it tried to articulate, the bot was still only changing its center of gravity over top of the weapon. So if it could have moved, it would have gone like that and gone ba-dum, and everybody was happy. So it seemed like the main weapon wasn't working anyway. And yeah, it was good to see the hammer actually smash something. The hammers seem a bit crummy. I'd like to see the hammers be, if you get hit by that hammer, you get a real problem on your hands. You got a real problem on your hands. And it seems like maybe to a bot like Ghost Raptor it was a real problem. But yeah. Either way, it's good to see that the round of 32 is actually starting to eliminate people. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't want to see the end of anybody, but it's just good to see these matches have consequences. When there's still wild cards, it's like, well, it's all fun and games. G'day, yes, how are you doing? But as soon as it's sudden elimination, you know, people start getting a bit like, moi. So, bring us to round 3. Tombstone versus Escape Velocity. Now, I did say this would be about armor. Depends on armor. It was about armor. Look, Escape Velocity, more power to them, but that aluminium honeycomb was never going to work. If they had something like, okay, if they'd firstly bonded it to their bot appropriately with something that wasn't, it looked like double-sided tape. What was left on the bot looked exactly like double-sided tape. Now, it might have been very strong double-sided tape. I bet there's some strong-ass NASA double-sided tape shit out there. I bet there is. Try again, dude. You know that's not going to work. Come on, man. You knew that there is no tape that's going to hold this on here. You need to get some epoxy. What are you doing? You know? Even then, if you had a Kevlar layer or some sort of impact protection layer, not Kevlar, something else, like if you had, you know what I mean, tool steel, then with a couple of layers of the aluminium honeycomb underneath it to absorb the impact. Great! Fantastic! That kind of composite could work really well. Just taping on some soft shit to absorb impacts, and it's just going to get... come on. Think with your NASA brain. This is like alien spaceships. This is not just floating through space. This is crazy shit. This is Independence Day style spaceships. That's what you got to build. Anyway, they looked afraid. They really did. Did you see that? You know, the faces. That's the face of fear. You know, and we put a lot of work into this bot, and it's going to get destroyed. I kind of like this bot. I don't want to see this. You know, the faces. Yeah, I love the things that Ray said before the match. We'll give him escape velocity. Good on you, Ray. I love the way he started saying it, and then sort of, it was like one part of his brain was making a joke, and then he started saying it, and then the other part of his brain got it halfway through. This is bloody hilarious. He started to laugh to himself. That was excellent. I really appreciate that. But yeah, he was very wise not to go in for that last hit, wasn't he? For that last showboat maneuver. He would have got the crazy and stupid. He really would have. But I tell you, he was very wise. He wants to win it this year. He's not being silly. I'd love to know what that blue blade is. I tried to find out, but the Reddit wasn't helping me. I'd love to find out if it's a different type of steel, if he's brought 10 of them this year, and he's only going to use one per match and x-ray them, which was my suggestion. I'd love if he did that, if you managed to, you know what I mean? Well, I don't know. If you're going to compete multiple years and not going to change the blade much, it shouldn't be a problem. You could have 5 of them. And there's only 5 graduations. Anyway, I love the Gene Kranz vest. I really do, with the escape velocity guys. You know, I hope a lot of the people out there are getting the reference. And I bet there's a huge crossover in the space community and the Battlebot community. I mean, we can see how many teams have entered that have got NASA pedigree. We can see how many people, they're geeky people. We're the type of people that we love this sort of shit. Come on, space is awesome. They're the best robots we've ever built have been sent to space. Come on, Curiosity, those rovers, Spirit, Opportunity, those things were fucking amazing. Those are robots. Let's just have a moment. Just have a little moment. Let's look at where they went. Let's look at how far those goddamn robots went. Look at how far Curiosity went. And Spirit. An Opportunity. Got another one planned. But yeah, after Ray wins, he's always got that adrenaline voice going on, doesn't he? They get right in there straight after the match. And it's not like boxing where the guys are, where they're physically exhausted as well. So they've had that, when you build up tension from adrenaline inside yourself and all you've done is move your thumbs and your tongue around your mouth and you got to do some star jumps, man. There's gotta be a heavy bag there for even when you win. That's why they're bashing the glass, like the perspex. That's why they're doing it. They're building up white knuckle inattention, and even when they win, they haven't moved their body much, and they've got to get something out. And Ray doesn't do that. I haven't seen him do it anyway. And he's still got we just won it because he's pumped, man. He's pumped and he doesn't let it out. He goes back and he's just got a totally different way of doing it. As a former prison guard, you can't go, wow, every time I bet there's been a riot and you survived it. You want to keep you cool. So he's got a very different way of expressing that than most other people. But it does affect everyone. It's a whole thing. I mean, imagine, what you feel like is a really high value fight. It's a fight for the life of an anthropomorphized creature that you've constructed. It's almost like, when Frankenfurter, when Rocky and Frankenfurter and, the end with the pure antimatter, the beam in Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's sort of not an excellent analogy. Anyway, that brings us to round 4. Okay, Poison Arrow versus Son of Waiachi. So the fist-sized chunks of his bot left, quote. Now, they used that when he was talking about fighting Chuck in Ghost Raptor. So they've used the same line twice, and I assume that this was the actual use, and they've just used it back last episode to build up last episode a bit more trash talk. And that's fine. But I don't really appreciate it. That's why I like the live stuff, man. I'd really like to see some... You can assemble all of the coverage from like the previous day or the previous couple of days into a package that you play before we cut away from the actual what's happening live to play all those bullshit packages while they're getting ready to bring the bots in. Then we cut to them bringing the bots in or something. Maybe they need too much time between the rounds, or maybe there's a very good reason. I don't know. I'd like to see them work on it because, I mean, at this point, it's an hour show and there's 12 minutes of content. There's 4 3-minute matches, and they don't go for 3 minutes, all of them anyway. So everything else, while excellent, and I'm not giving too much shit to the format, is not optional, but I tell you, you can certainly... If you've got a 3-minute fight every 15 minutes, you've got 12 minutes to clear the arena, get everything organized, have the next team ready. Maybe that is enough, maybe it's not enough. It's very hard to say. I have no idea what the logistical requirements are, but I'd like to see them address it. I'd really like to see live robot fighting. It'd be amazing. Anyway. But yeah, Poison Arrow, Son of Waiachi. So yeah, Terry got a bit overconfident. Same thing that happens every time. They do this whole, we only tested the bot. Last time only up to 50%. You didn't test this thing at 100%, and look what happened. I mean, it may have been that Son of Waiachi's spinner got hit by the lip, the actual tooth of the drum spinner. And, okay, if it's spinning around in that direction, it's very happy to receive impacts in that direction. But if it gets pushed up that way, it could have done something to bearings or to the shaft or to, who knows, or it could have just been a shock loading problem. Either way, really, one big hit on from Son of Waiachi destroyed Son of Waiachi. Shocking. I didn't see that coming at all. I really thought they'd be testers. I thought they'd be the type of dudes who'd go out and smash a tree with it. But, I don't know. What am I talking about? I don't know. So yeah, they only spun it up to 50% for Chuck, and this time they decided to spin it up to 100, and she tore herself apart. Gar! I don't know what I'm doing. So yeah, Zachary Goff, oil and gas equipment guy, designer. 12 seconds to spin up the drum. Seems like a lot. Won't lie to you, but obviously they've got their reasons for having a drum that spins that fast, that takes that long to spin up, rather than one that spins up more quickly, but spins more slowly. So yeah, they've got their reasons for that, and it seemed to do the trick. I'd like to know how long Minotaur takes to spin up. I'd like to know how long Yeti takes to spin up, and I'd like to know exactly how long a Hypershock takes to spin up. So yeah, this is the year of the drum spinner, though, isn't it? This is really happening. Another one has moved forward. So we've got quite a few kicking along. So that's, what's that, 4 by my count? It depends. The Swiss Army bots, it depends how you classify them. I guess they can count as drum spinners. But drum spinners are going to feature heavily, very prominently this year, certainly compared to last year. And yeah, it was always going to be about the angles of an impact. I mean, if you got, and how robust Son of Waiachi was. If Son of Waiachi managed to get the side of Poison Arrow and get a good hit in there, I don't think we'd see this match have gone the way it's gone. I think it probably would have been both of them destroyed or just Poison Arrow destroyed. But if it clipped the drum and sent forces in directions that were unexpected, well, yeah. Now, on that first impact, first time I watched it, I thought that it actually bent a brace. I thought this was just an engineering problem from the actual engineering of the spinner, not from the bot. And then once they tried to move it, once it actually bent, it was something odd had happened with, it had vibrated itself to destruction in the air or something like that. But on closer inspection, these appear to be loafers. No, on closer inspection, it doesn't get bent until Poison Arrow comes in for that very last hit that gives it a last little tick up. So it wasn't that. It was about something internal, and I'd very much like to hear what it was inside that was destroyed. I'd like to see more post-mortems, I really would. I'd like to see, instead of blah, 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 speculation, what might happen about this week, I'd like to see what happened last week. Here's what a bot looks like after it's destroyed. Really close up. Get me in there. Show me the bits that are destroyed. Oh, man. It's so much opportunity for so much good footage, and so much geekery is being overlooked here, and I'd really love to see it. But yeah, one of my favorite parts of all this was just how shocked Zach and the other guys, especially the guy up the back, he was like, You just could not believe that they'd actually won against Son of Waiachi. And I love to see that kind of enthusiasm. I love to see the looks on their faces, just the sheer joy. It's ecstasy is what we're seeing out of Zack when he's just that. We don't have words for that. You just have to look at his face and you know how he feels. And that's beautiful. I love that. So yeah, the only other thing I'd love to say about this whole round 4, what's with the drones? I know they're cool, right? And I know they weigh dick all because they have to, because they're drones, otherwise they won't fly. But they weigh dick all and they're useless as tits on a motorcycle. I think I mixed my metaphors there. They are absolutely useless. I mean, they look cool in a way, they're kind of distracting, but they may be distracting the audience, but you've got 2 drivers there, one for the weapon and one for directionality for most bots. I'm not sure if they're being distracted in the same way we are. I think they're a little bit more focused. I'm not sure how much they work, but maybe they work. But I don't think they do. So that brings us to the 3rd episode of the round of 32. There's going to be 8 big matches and 16 bots. So it's going to be a pretty serious long episode next week. Some choices, some picks. Cobalt's going to destroy Bombshell. I'm glad that Bombshell got the wild card. It was one of those ones that, okay, I'd like to see what else they've got. It's just another Swiss Army bot. It's good to see what they have. I haven't even seen it do more than one of its tricks. So that's nice. But I got to call it for Cobalt. The thing's going to just get torn apart. Bombshell. Yeah, Cobalt's a pretty serious bot. Certainly doing some of the research for Robot Wars. Yeah, Cobalt's going to tear it apart. Hypershock and Warrior Clan. Look, I'm going to call it for Hypershock. I really am. I know that might not be a popular call, but I'm going to call that for Hypershock. I think that that's a hell of a well-engineered bot. I think they've ironed out a lot of the kinks. I think that guy knows how to do his testing, and I think that we're going to see some very serious stuff. Honestly, seeing Son of Waiachi get its ass kicked tonight has really made me call into questioning the entire engineering capacity of that entire team and that entire end of things. So that honestly has pushed me towards Hypershock. I've only made that decision just recently. I was thinking about it all week, but yeah. Stinger versus Megatento. Look, I don't know. Just depends, doesn't it? I think Stinger, if he's smart, he won't go in the bug shell. If he's got half a brain in there, he won't go in the bug shell at all. So, and that will change things completely. So yeah, any kind of entrapment in that bug shell makes it very hard to look like you won, especially since he's got a flipper. What's he going to flip? The drum spinner. It's not going to be a good look when he gets torn apart in there. So yeah. So then we've got Captain Shredderator versus Chomp. I don't think I need to tell you what I think's going to happen here. Look, Chomp's a shitbox, I think. Just no lateral stability in the weapon. It's got a high center of gravity. Hammers are shit. They just are shit. The more mass you put into the hammer, the more it wants to stay still. As you try and swing it, it wants to stay exactly where it is and move the whole rest of the bot up. How's that helping us? So you need to put more mass again into the bot. So now you need to do it with kinetic energy with velocity rather than with mass. So suddenly it's not really a hammer, is it? Suddenly you need the idea of then having all this mass up here. It just can't work if you need to accelerate it that quickly. And no, I don't think hammer bots are... it's too easy to defend against them as well. If you've got any kind of a weapon, they can't get in close enough to be effective. And if you've got any kind of armor up top, well, they're also not effective. So, I don't know. Hammerbots, So yeah, I have no hesitations whatsoever calling that for Captain Shredderator. Bite Force versus Ringmaster. Now, it's very hard to be, unequivocal. They are last year's champions, So, there is that. They're still not the first seed. I think that's a fair enough assessment. I wouldn't give him first seed either. But there's no way to say that he doesn't build a good bot. But that said, Chomp's a pretty scary looking thing with that tooth, just hanging out the side of the thing. As long as that control mechanism doesn't get too I don't know. It depends how they have it set up to control it. With the whole body spinners. One thing I've often thought is, how do you remember which way the front is? How do you actually control this thing and keep, because you'd have to move it in a direction before you know which way it wants to go when you move it in that direction, which would be very disorienting inside of one's brain. To go, okay, now I want to move forward. Oh, wrong way. Okay, turn all the way around. Okay, and just constantly have to be resetting inside your brain. So it'll be a trick of driving, and Bite Force is going to have some good armor. Very good armor, because he knows what he's doing. So this is going to be a very interesting match. Oh God. I want to call it for Ringmaster, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. I'm going to call it for Ringmaster just the same. Beta? Beta. Is it beta? It's beta. Oh, it's beta. Sorry. I've been saying it beta, have I? This whole time. Shit. Beta versus Overhaul. Overhaul's a good wild card. Whether or not Beta's going to do anything to it, I doubt Beta will even make a mark on Overhaul, but I'm not sure how Overhaul's going to do much to Beta either. So it's going to be a pushing contest, I'd say. We'll see though, and we'll see what happens, but yeah, I'm going to call it for Overhaul because Hammerbots, eat a bag of anus. Ice Wave versus Nightmare. Look, flip a coin. If Nightmare manages to clip Ice Wave in the wrong or right, depending on your point of view, direction, Nightmare will get it. If Ice Wave happens to hit Nightmare's blade in such a way as it shatters the thing all over the arena, or manages to just simply knock the thing over and it's on its back again, which is what always happens. Let me put it this way. If Nightmare doesn't get the first hit in and get a very good hit in that destroys Ice Wave, I would say it's almost certain that Ice Wave will get this. But Ice Wave does have a very big habit of shitting itself. So, look, this is one of those ones that I think is a bit too close to call. I will... look, I just have to put my money on Ice Wave. Because if it's not Ice Wave, then I've been wrong about Nightmare this whole time. So I'm just going to stick my money where my previous mouth has been. Which is a bit of a dirty idea a lot of the time. But yeah, I'm going to stick my money where my mouth is and roll with Ice Wave. Which brings us to Brutus versus Lockjaw. Yeah. Look, I think Brutus has got it. This is almost a replay of the match last year of Overhaul versus Lockjaw as well. It's good to see these sorts of replays. It's good to see old grudges reigniting themselves. Since the guy from Brutus has changed from the Adderall to the free medical marijuana in the pits. It's a very different vibe. So I'm very interested to see if Lockjaw does any late hits, and if he does, whether or not the dude absolutely peaks out. But yeah, that no handshake thing was clearly staged. But I don't know, why were they in there? Why did they go? I don't know. It was a big stage. But anyway, that's fine. Look, I've got to call it for Brutus. I think Brutus is going to be a really difficult to get away with bot. Get away from bot. The Jaws, it didn't work against Yeti, and I don't see it working against what I would see as a way superior drum spinner in Brutus. I just can't see Lockjaw making any traction. It's going to get its wheels ripped off again. Wheels sitting out there like a big dummy, with all that negative camber. Just like, okay, I mean, do your thing, but it just seems like those things are just begging to be ripped off, and you have no redundancy. If you had 6 wheels, okay, maybe we can start, or 8, we can start talking about it, or a guardrail or something, but they're just sitting out there, Anyway, look, these are going to be very interesting matches next week, so can't wait to see you then, and yeah, we'll get straight on this, and until then, have a great week.